I remember getting kicked out of my Welsh language class in school for drumming on the table, and then I got outside the class, I leant up against the wall, and I just started tapping on the wall. I didn't even know I was doing it, I just started drumming on the table. So I've been collecting percussion instruments throughout my career. If I had a shoot in Colombia, I would come back with some salsa, guerreros and that type of instrument, or if I had a shoot in Ghana, I'd come back with some African cowbells, you know. But this one reminds me of the table, or that I drummed on in my Welsh class that I got kicked out for. It's very much an interest of mine, and it does influence the filmmaking. Just having rhythm is so important when it comes to your editing. The second I pick it up, I'm playing with it just to play with the sound.
So tell me about these, some of these old cameras.
Well, my father was a lecturer in university in Cardiff, and he taught ceramics, right? So as part of his course, I think it was maybe the first years or maybe the second years, he would give them a module on photography. Now, the reason for that was because he was training people to be artists, to be ceramic artists in a commercial world. And of course, you can make your ceramics, but if you haven't got a good photographer, what use is that? You're not going to sell any ceramics. You need to take good quality professional photographs of your ceramics so that you can send them to galleries. And in the 90s, a professional photograph was this, you know, it was considered professional enough, you know, a 35mm camera. So this is a SLR, a single lens reflex. I started to learn about SLRs at around age 16. So my father, because he taught this photography class in the university, he always had one of these, and this is the same camera. It's a real film camera, so it takes a roll of film, 35mm film, and these are the kind of lenses that go on it. They look beautiful now, just to look through it, it's great. This really helped me because I got into photography before filmmaking, so the composition and things like that became very important to me. I had a basic book on photography called John Hedgecoe's Guide to Black and White Photography, and that went through a number of different compositions. It spoke about one called Fill the Frame, it spoke about another one called Foreground Interest. It just basically gave these kind of little compositional ideas to me that I still use to this day, like finding a gap in a bush and taking a photo or filming a building behind it, so you've got that foreground frame, you know, putting a camera on a tray with a big glass of milk in the front of the frame, and then, you know, a wide lens to show the back of the diner, and then someone comes in and picks up the glass of milk. You know, those shots or sequences I do in film could be traced back to that book, probably, in those simple concepts like foreground framing. So I do, I would say composition, something that's gone through painting, then into still photography, and then into the moving image, whether that's film, and then eventually into digital video. So you can do well from studying painting or studying art in general and studying photography. It was to come back to me later in life when the digital SLR was invented around 2010, and the Canon 5D Mark II came out, which was very handy.
Game begin.
This is my first ever video camera, handy camera from Sony. You can use the eyepiece if you really want to, but this was the beginning of this kind of vibe for me, shooting from the hip, because you had your little pull-out screen. It wasn't 16:9, it was 4:3. You had a little focus on the front here, but most of the time you'd use autofocus. But being able to do your own like macro focusing and stuff was really important too. I mean, all you had to do was zoom with your finger here, zoom in, zoom out. That was it. That was the setup, and press record. Record with the thumb, zoom with the finger.
Yeah.
But you know, you still have to learn how to move it, you know, how to kind of cradle it and get that great shot of a band or something, and then zoom into the drummer and zoom out to the keyboard player. It was a much more fluid process in those days because zooms were cool enough. I spoke about this camera earlier, and I was saying how I used to kind of turn it upside down and put it close to, say, like streams of water like that, so you'd have like the stream just underneath and you get a really close up gnarly shot of the water. I mean, I like all this, you know, for me, like looking after the cameras, it was never about that. Like I love all these like little scratches, and there's a little broken part here where the plastic chipped off. As far as I know, this still works. Unfortunately, I don't have a way of charging this battery right now, so can't really tell, but yeah, Sony Handycam. So I had quite a kind of emotional connection to Sony at that point, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for this little Handycam that went to Norway and Gambia and Jamaica, I don't know where I'd be with my career. Can see how much it was used by the button there. The paint's come off it completely. This is a camera called Sony Z7, which came along just after the Z1. It was the first video camera that Sony had produced where you could really remove the lens, as in first consumer level video camera where you could remove the lens. And really cool. I got this guy called Les Boscher to make me some special adapters for this. So I used to put stills lenses directly onto this camera, which had a huge zoom factor of 16, I think. So it meant that you could get these incredible long lens shots. I remember being in Japan on top of a volcano, getting a shot of the moon, and the moon was so big in the frame, it took me ages to find the moon with the long lens, and it was so big that it wouldn't even fit. You know, we had to do like a crop, like chopped off a bit of the top and the bottom of the moon. Again, it's what I said before, I had to go to like extreme lengths to survive, to make myself different. So being able to do those mega close-up shots of the moon through that strange adapter I got made, that was the kind of stuff that would make my work eye-catching, which, you know, led to me having a career in television. This is what I filmed the restaurant on, and my early BBC work, until the time came when the first kind of CF card cameras were available. So yeah, the C300 was the first one.
What does that record to? Tape?
That's on tape, yeah. But interestingly, it had this external unit that you could put on the back that would take CF cards.
Yeah.
First ever. So this is the camera that I use these days, latest camera, Sony FS7. I actually worked on the design of this camera. I was part of the team that were interviewed about the design of this handle before it was created. So we were asked to give feedback on other cameras, such as using the Canon C300 and how we felt about that and what was missing with that camera. And you know, I was pushed them a lot on making something very ergonomic that really fits the hand. We looked at Italian cars and old French cameras and quite a lot of kind of European design, and the guys came up with this. So they kind of interviewed me and asked me different questions about cameras, which led to the design of the handle of the FS7. At that point I'd started a relationship with Sony, and they pulled me on board as a independent certified expert. So I now work for Sony on and off in that role. So I'm always here to help anybody who has questions about the FS7. Mine has been used a lot. As you can see, there's some like pink residue here. That is from a special red berry that they use in the Amazon to do body paint. That bit of orange is from a reggaeton music video I shot in Trinidad. So I'm friends with Fusionon, luckily. After working for Sony, I'd started to become friends with other people who work at different camera companies. I've worked alongside Fusionon now giving them feedback on their lenses as well. This is the 18-55. Fantastic, favourite lens ever, because it's very intuitive for me. And in the world of documentary where things happen very fast and you're not expecting them, so I got iris, zoom, focus. Get the light level right, get your zoom right, get your focus right. 1, 2, 3, very fast. I love this. I hate going back there and all that kind of stuff. I hate using Canon lenses that have the electronics in the inside. I much prefer old-fashioned manual lenses like this Fusionon. I moan about these lenses sometimes, but it's easy to forget what it was like before then. I used to carry Nikon primes, like a 20mm, an 18mm, a 24mm, a 35, a 50, an 85, a 135, and a 400mm around in a bloody backpack. I've just got these two now, and they kind of do most of that. Yeah.